What 4 lessons can you learn about Patrick Mahomes Sr.'s DWI arrest in Texas? Why was Patrick Mahomes' father arrested for DWI in Texas? I'm Daniel Izquierdo of the Izquierdo Law Firm. And before we try to figure out why he was arrested for DUI and what that potentially means, we have to start at the beginning. According to reports, Mahomes Sr. was observed by police driving slower than the traffic that was on the road at the same time. When they noticed him for that reason, they ran his registration, and that came back having been expired since 2022. They eventually pull him over. When they make contact with Mahomes Sr., they observe an open container, a 16-ounce Coors Light can, according to reports, in the center console. Right then and there, they request that he perform field sobriety exercises. Again, according to the reports, he did not perform to standard. At that point, coupled with the reasons for the stop and the officer's observations, they determined they had probable cause to arrest Mahomes Sr. for DWI. Now, the problem for Mahomes Sr. is that in Texas, because this would potentially be a third conviction, he is now facing up to 10 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Florida is not nearly as strict for a third DUI. However, if you have a third DUI in Florida, you will face enhanced penalties, especially if, like Patrick Mahomes Sr., that third conviction comes within 10 years of a second DUI conviction. In Florida, a third DUI conviction within 10 years of your second conviction carries with it a mandatory 30 days in jail, 48 hours of which have to be served consecutively. Now, that's not where the enhancements end. In Florida, a third DUI within 10 can be charged as a misdemeanor, but the prosecutor also has the discretion to charge it as a felony. Once the prosecutor opts to charge a third DUI within 10 years as a felony, now you're not only facing the mandatory 30 days, you are facing third-degree felony sanctions. And that means that's a $5,000 fine and up to 5 years in Florida State Prison. In addition to the enhanced fines, the mandatory jail time, and the max exposure of 5 years in state prison if they charge it as a felony, you're also looking at a 10-year license revocation. And you cannot apply for a hardship until at least after 2 years have passed. You will have an interlock device in your car for a period of 2 years, in addition to all the other DUI conditions that come along with a conviction. So what lessons can you learn from the arrest of Chief star Patrick Mahomes' father for DWI in Texas? Number 1 is an obvious one. Have your paperwork in order. Make sure your tag is up to date. Make sure your insurance is valid. Make sure your driver's license isn't suspended. The officer, after observing the driving pattern, then ran the tag, and that's when the license plate came back as having been expired since 2022. The second lesson that you can learn from Patrick Mahomes Sr. is driving with an open container. Now, in Florida, an open container is nothing more than a civil infraction. It's a traffic ticket. The problem is that the perception that will give the officer oftentimes makes them jump ahead to assuming that you're automatically DUI. So avoid open containers at all costs, because they definitely send the wrong signal to the officer. The third lesson that you can learn from Patrick Mahomes Sr. arrest is, according to reports, he admitted to having a few beers earlier at a bar while watching a game. You are under no obligation to discuss with the officer where you're coming from, what you were doing prior to being stopped, and you should absolutely never admit to consuming alcohol during a traffic stop, because that evidence will just be used against you, and it will be more reasons that the officer cites as probable cause to ultimately place you under arrest for DUI. The fourth and final lesson that you can learn from Patrick Mahomes Sr.'s DUI arrest is field sobriety exercises. According to all the reports, he performed these exercises when requested by the officer, and he did not perform to standard. Now, in Florida, field sobriety exercises are 100% voluntary. There is no consequence for refusing to do field sobriety exercises. Your license will not be suspended. You can't even have consciousness of guilt or the reasons for you refusing not to do field sobriety exercises used against you. Remember, in Florida, your license only gets suspended for refusing a breath or blood test. It does not get suspended for refusing to do field sobriety exercises. Now, the common response to that is, well, the officer will then arrest me because they won't have anything to base their decision on if I don't show them that I'm okay. Remember, if they're asking you to perform field sobriety exercises, they've probably already made up their mind and you will ultimately be arrested. Better off opting not to do field sobriety exercises so you don't give them evidence that will ultimately be used against you.